having discussions like this, understanding the problem, there is a lot to uncover. There's a lot of BS. There's a lot of
snake oil.
Hand waviness, misaligned. So this is exactly the discussion. Our goal is to bring that forward. B2B buyers are leaving clues on the web that they're in market. Can you find them? This is Hellbent on Intent, where we sit down with experts, users, and skeptics to get to the bottom of intent data. Our goal is to break down what intent data is, what it isn't, how it works, and what it means for B2B technology marketers. My name is Tukan. Let's get to it. Cool. Hello, Camille. Welcome to the show Hellbent on Intent.
Thank you for having me.
Cool. So I guess for the audience that are listening in, Camille is a good friend of mine. I don't know how it will happen by the end of it. We might not be friends, but Camille's the founder of 42 Agency. 42 Agency is a demand generation and marketing operations agency for B2B SaaS companies.
Yeah.
Very good. And in terms of B2B SaaS companies, Camille, just quickly, what kind of companies do you guys typically work with in B2B SaaS?
Maybe 50 plus employees, 5 million plus in revenue, and sort of have product marketing content in-house. And we sort of supplement with the demand gen and marketing ops piece.
Do you have an upper limit on the size of the companies? Like, would you work with companies that are 500 million in revenue or that?
No, I think we're not ready for that. No, I think like our sweet spot is between 35 and 30 million.
Let's address the elephant in the room and by starting talking about this article that you wrote, which I love, by the way.
Sebastian and I wrote together.
Sebastian, okay. Yeah. Perfect. So Sebastian,
I don't want to take all the blame for it.
All the blame. Okay. But you are the representative here, so you have to face the music. Where you said, does intent mean anything? So tell us a little bit about what was the thesis behind you writing that? Like, what was the thought process?
I mean, the thought process was basically there was a lot of, I've been in the B2B marketing industry for about a decade plus now. Recently, in the past 5 years, there's been the rise of ABM, intent, and I'm going to put this in quotes, demand gen versus lead gen and ungated content, like all this stuff is going on. And intent seems like one of those things where people talk about it, but they mean different things. And there's no clear answer on what actually it means, or I'm going to exclude you from those vendor lists, but there's a bunch of vendors that we all know about that are promising intent as the magical bullet to solve all your pipeline and B2B demand gen problems. And the truth of the matter is it's not the magic bullet it's promised to be. And there's a lot of nuance that goes unaddressed. And then when I was thinking about intent, and a lot of the conversation focuses on third-party intent, it's like somebody is doing something on a third-party website, blah, 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 cookies, blah, blah, blah. There's implications with the privacy laws coming in across that stuff. And then we completely ignore first-party intent. So I'll talk to a lot of people. They're like, oh, yeah, we need to buy this XYZ to mine intent data. I'm like, well, have you looked at your own first-party intent? They're like, oh, what is that? So I'm like, just look at who's coming to your website, who's engaging with the ads. Look at LinkedIn's pixel data. That gives you so much insights, reverse IP lookup, blah, blah, blah. The second issue for me is that it's a black box. So they're like, oh, we have all these intent signals. I'm like, where do they come from? They're giving me this vague, we have proprietary technology that does blah, 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 cookie triangulation. I'm like, yeah, I'm technical enough to understand technical things.
So interestingly enough, you mentioned something is a lot of people, when thinking of intent, a lot of people think of third-party intent, which is things that are happening outside of their properties, outside of their control, versus looking at the first-party intent. Is that a trend that you see with a lot of B2B SaaS marketers you're talking? They're not even considering first-party intent?
They don't even think about first-party intent. So they'll say, I'm trying to reframe the conversation around first-party intent and reframe this. So I'm trying to connect the two dots where there's one conversation around, hey, just ungate all your content. I'm like, yeah, sure, ungate top of funnel stuff, bottom of funnel stuff, you should probably still gate. Second, gating content is not a bad thing because it's a signal of first-party intent. Somebody's looking to solve a problem, they're downloading a piece of content, they're viewing something, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And they're ignoring that whole bucket of things and they're saying this is all evil.
Yeah.
But let's focus on third-party intent. I think the two are connected because when you ungate all content and stuff, you heavily rely on third-party intent signals to tell you who's like, you need to identify who's coming to your website, engaging with your content and reading all this stuff.
Yeah.
And like coming.
Yeah.
So I think there's a connection between the two. That just the first-party intent is completely ignored. Nobody even talks about it. They don't even leverage their own, like, I'll say, like, I was talking to a company and they're like, oh, we need to buy XYZ for third-party intent. I'm like, listen, you have like a data CRM full of like 10,000 contacts. Let's first leverage that and understand who they are, where they're coming from, maybe build some custom audiences, blah, blah, without going third-party stuff.
Totally. And if I may add to this, being an intent provider, one of the first things that we tell is there is no signal as strong as someone coming to your website, visiting a page, downloading a content, whether it's top of the funnel, bottom of the funnel, doesn't really matter. There is nothing stronger than, there's no third-party signal that will outweigh that. So that's surprising to hear that what you're finding is a lot of marketers are not even thinking of first-party intent. And maybe it's just a good job these third-party intent providers like us, we have done, where they are thinking, when they're thinking intent, they're thinking third-party. There are good reasons for looking at third-party, but never, ever ignoring first-party. Never. I'll give you an interesting stat we found. 78% of companies that are over $10 million in revenue plus, these B2B companies, they use 3 or more intent providers.
Oh, wow.
3 or more, 78%. Why do you think that is the case?
I think they don't trust the data.
They don't trust the data, right? Because they don't trust one.
Yeah. Cover all my bases, because I think, like, if we take, and I'm not trying to pick on these guys, like, no. I respect G2 and Capterra, but they're limited to their own web properties, so they will show you intent signals based on it. So I think that's one of the that's the reason they're like, oh, I'm just getting the G2 signals here. Yes. I want the broader Bambora. Do
you think the thesis there of using multiple sources, why they're using so many, is in a B2B complex buying cycle, let's say someone is looking to buy a cybersecurity solution or even looking for a demand gen agency like yours. The buying cycle is complex. It's not just they go, I need this and I'm going to look at G2, I'm going to buy. And maybe that is the reason that they're trying to, as you said, cover their bases rather than not trusting one, but just saying, I know the buying journey is super complex and one source is not going to give me all. So I'm going to look at everywhere they're showing some kind of interest.
I feel like it might be overkill though.
I agree.
Like you have I've seen this in the customers we work with. They have like all this intent data. They don't do anything with it. Nobody does anything with it.
Yes. And why do you think that's the case? We noticed that too. Why do you think that's the case?
I think it's 2 reasons. One is they don't know. Like, I'll give you an example. One of our customers, we bought Capterra's intent data for them, and we got like the Capterra login, and there was a list of accounts. And they're like, so what do we do with this? I'm like, so I was talking to the VP of sales. I'm like, hey, VP of sales, like, you need to get your sales team to we need to figure out who the contacts in these red accounts are, because this is all account based, right? So like, they don't know who to call because it's a company that's showing intent. And they're like, well, that's too much work for us. Like, we're just going to rely on the inbound stuff that you guys are already doing. We don't want that's our sales guys have like too much. Like, it's kind of like a prospect. Like, you have to prospect into those accounts. It's not going to magically tell you who that person is. You still have to do the work. And I think the second thing is, like, at minimum, what we have started to do, and we use LeadSift with some of our customers, is just like, let's get all these intent, whatever accounts, whatever, just build some custom audiences or just activate it and just see, like, get our message in front of them. At least that's the thing we can do. But a lot of times people don't even do that. I think it's just like, they're used to a way of, like, intent to me is a bit of an outbound play rather than a complete inbound play. And this is a little bit disconnected from this conversation, but I think over the past decade, HubSpot has done a great job of like convincing people all they need to do is inbound.
True.
And the fact of the matter is you need both.
And especially if you're starting out initially where you don't have a brand, you don't have a lot of content and things like that, 100%. You have to do outbound or targeted PPC ads, like very specific and things like that. I get it. So now let's talk about one of the things that you mentioned in that article, and that's a very interesting point. Like, you go to the definition of intent. And one of the things that you're saying is intent is intent an action or is it a thought? So what's your take on that? What do you think?
So I think the way that the vendors are positioning it is an action that they take, but Intent, if we actually trace it back all the way to the actual meaning of it, it's a thought that somebody had. It's the intention of doing something. It's not actually the action of doing something. It's very hard for me to go into read your mind and say you have the intent to buy, hire a dimension agency.
I 100% agree. Intent is a thought or need that they might have in their brain on discussions. And then they do subsequent actions post that are then being captured. Some of them are captured, not all of them, to make this prediction. You talk about a prediction piece there too, and you say, it's in your example, what you have noticed is it's just a tiny bit better than random.
Yeah.
How is it tiny bit better than random? Tiny bit better than random when they're doing outbound? So they take a cold list versus just a random or intent list and they see just a little bit better?
I think so. Like that's my hypothesis.
Is it a hypothesis or you have data to back it up?
I don't have hard data to back it up right now. I'll give you an example. If I run a custom audience list of like intent accounts, and if I compare that to like a general whatever, no intent, there might be a slight lift in click-throughs and stuff, but there's not a significant amount of like, it's not like I'm seeing a 10x conversion rate on the intent account.
So, and this is something that we want to clarify. Like, this is what we tell our customers. And so one of the expectations we see with a lot of customers is saying, okay, you tell me these 100 accounts are showing intent from whatever sources, meaning I'm going to reach out to these 100 people. About 50% of them will book a meeting because I'm thinking my inbound booking and meeting rate is that or a little higher. So I'm guessing 50% of them will book a meeting. That is unfortunately not true because these guys have not raised their hands explicitly and said, hey, I want to talk to Camille.
They don't even know I exist.
So when you reach out, what we tell them is, look, if you're reaching out to 100 people currently cold and you get 5 meetings booked from them currently doing whatever metrics, if you leverage intent and a decent intent provider, you should get 8 meetings booked from them.
Yeah.
There's 2 other value add to this. One is it's automated. So the process is like, you don't have to spend time thinking,
who are my accounts? Yeah.
And the other thing we have noticed, and we were talking to some another intent vendor, they sell intent data. And they were saying, one of the things they say is, of the 8, let's say we just take this example, of the 8 that did book a meeting with you through intent, they moved down the funnel faster. So now let's go to the granularity of intent. Like let's unpack certain things. Let's take the example of 42 agency.
Okay.
You said you're going after B2B SaaS companies.
Yes.
And you said you are, and I've done some number crunching here. You said you're going after 50 million to 5 million to 50 million, or 5 to 30 million globally. Do you know how many companies are there in that range?
I have no idea.
I'll tell you. There's 7,762 companies in North America.
That's less than I thought, actually.
That's just in North America.
Yeah.
US, Canada. In that. Again, that's a conservative estimate. I'm guessing that number, if you look globally, is probably double. Okay?
Yeah.
Let's work with this number, 7,762. Who do you sell to? Head of marketing? Or
CRO, head of marketing. Yeah.
Okay. So let's say on an average, each of these have about 3 contacts in there that you can sell to. So that's roughly about 24,000 people.
Yeah.
Now, if you're doing outbound, that's pretty sizable number of people to reach out to.
That's a significant list. Yeah.
Right. And if you're spray and praying, then whatever you use, it's not gonna, like if you just mass email, it's not gonna work. Now let me give you an example. Let me give you an example of an intent at the level of a thought and action.
Yeah.
What if I told you out of those 7,700 companies, every day or every week, a list of companies that have raised Series A in the last 3 months?
Yeah.
Okay. That's an interesting data point. You guys are HubSpot certified or Drift certified, right? 42 agencies.
Yeah.
What if I tell you some of these guys that raised Series A out of that full list? I'm narrowing the funnel.
You're narrowing it down. Yeah.
Right. Install HubSpot and a Facebook or LinkedIn ad pixel on their website 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
You guys do a lot of demand gen ad targeting. That's an interesting data point, right?
Yeah.
What if they just hired a new director of marketing?
Usually that's a strong signal.
What if they're actively hiring for 5 BDRs?
Yes.
Your team. What if they commented on a LinkedIn post from another marketing agency?
Yes.
One way to look at it is, well, these are not intent. They haven't read an article on Forbes. Sure. Or they haven't visited G2.
Yeah.
And they haven't even explicitly told you. But based on these trigger events, and they would not know of 42 agency, they might not know of you. But if you make a crafted email saying, hey, based on these things, this is what we do. This is the kind of help. logically speaking, forget all the jargons. Don't you think if you get this list delivered to your BDRs, this would be a good list for them to talk to?
Yes.
And I think this is the lens that I'm looking at. I think this is how intent should be helping. I'll give you an example. 15Five. Do you know of this company?
Yeah.
You should be talking to them. I'll tell you why. Real data live going on. In the last 30 days, they have researched on data, revenue operations, podcast marketing, AI.
Okay, that's a pretty,
They are hiring for a marketing manager, marketing campaign manager. That's 5 data points I told you in the last 30 days.
Hey, 15Five, if you're listening to this, give me a shout.
Julia Steed is the person, the CMO. I'm going to tell you the person. So if you start thinking of intent this way.
Yes, 100%. Probabilities. Yeah.
Right? Will they buy from you now? I don't know.
No, you can't guarantee that.
You cannot, because they didn't tell us. They didn't tell anyone this. They might have told someone, the 2 people that they've told, one is their internal team in Slack. It's like, hey man, we should be looking. Do we have an agency already? They might say that.
Yeah.
And the other company they told was Google. They probably told Google this.
Yes.
Through their search.
Google.
But Google doesn't sell that data. So you wouldn't know. But you can observe some of these signals, fingerprints, that can give you a prediction on their thought. I think that's what we should be looking at when thinking of intent. If you, let's say you got this data where it literally lists these things, they did this.
And I can use that to personalize my outreach, right? Like I can say, hey, I noticed blah, 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 blah.
Right. And some of these might be false positives. For example, like you shared this article that someone said, I saw you were looking on event management space. Are you interested?
Yeah.
Why do you think that information came to you? Why do you think they reached out?
Hopin?
Yes. Yeah.
So they had layoffs. So I was reading a bunch of news about them. So I think it was a false positive because I was just reading about the layoffs that happened because they had a COVID spike.
And they had a massive drop.
And I have some friends who work there. So I was just like, I read about that. I was reading more about that.
This is such a perfect example. You read a news about Hopin on some site, whether it's some news site or
a bunch of sites,
right? And someone interpreted the system, it's completely automated. The system interpreted, hey, Camille from 42 agency is showing intent on this. You're not showing intent towards buying an event. You're interested in this company
from a different angle.
From a completely different angle. Are you looking to purchase Hopin subscription? No, you're not, but you're interested.
Yeah.
But that's why I think it's super important. And I go back to the original question of why people should look at a bunch of different signals is you need to cross-reference that with a whole bunch of things.
What the interesting thing is, like the intent stuff is like your account research when you're building an outbound list.
Yes.
A lot of these signals are something I would like, you're sort of giving me all these signals and normally a person would, you're like sort of automating a part of my research process.
Manually, a person would manually do it.
I think intent is like, I think we need to reframe, and this is like me just off the top of my head.
Please.
Like reframe this as a list building tool versus a solution for building pipeline. Like, does that make sense?
It does, because I'll just add a few things to it. List building helps you build top of the funnel to build the pipeline. It is a top of the funnel tool. It is not bottom or middle of the funnel. It might contribute. You might get a lead. And we have seen this from customer. They reach out. They're like, within 1 day, we booked a meeting, 7 days, we closed a deal.
Wow.
But there is no guarantee in this. But what is a guarantee is if you reach out to this group of lists, you are going to get a more relevant response from them or engagement from them, whether it's ads, email, because this is top of mind, right?
Yeah.
Other use case, Kamil, what do you think? You talk about first party intent, right? And first party intent first party data is used a lot in lead scoring.
Yeah.
I make a case of also including third-party signals in the lead scoring.
Lead scoring is, in a way, first-party intent, right? Like it's lead scoring is a probability of they took XYZ action, they fit this demographic. It is highly likely that they are ready to. And
that's what I'm saying. Third-party should contribute to the lead scoring.
Yes, totally agree.
Right? So those are the two definite use cases that I think. So the problem with intent is, so let's say I told you 15Five is showing intent, right? They might or might not buy. I don't know. They might or might not buy a marketing agency, like hire a marketing agency or buy another revenue attribution. I don't know. The problem is if they bought, it's very difficult for you to know that they actually bought unless you call them or they tell you. Now, the problem is for intent data providers or anyone, you need to build, or any machine learning model, you need to build a training set. You need to know, okay, these are the signals they did and we know they bought this. That data doesn't, and that's the problem. That is one of the biggest problem in making an accurate prediction, saying, so if you ask any intent vendor, how accurate is your intent data?
Right.
No one can answer that question.
You don't have a way of knowing that this actually happened or not.
Exactly. The only way you will know 15.5 actually hired an agency is because if they bought from you. They might go to another agency and buy this. You will never know. And that is the problem. And so someone might say your intent data sucks because they didn't buy from me. Well, they might have bought from someone. I'm not trying to defend the data, but that is the reality. That is the reality. So I
totally agree.
I hope it changed your view a little bit with the specific examples. And I gave you a lead, 15.5. Get your BDRs to reach out. So I need to ask you this final question. The video series we are doing, it's all about intent and having discussions like this, understanding the problem. There is a lot to uncover. There's a lot of BS. There's a lot of
snake oil.
Snake oil, hand waviness, misaligned. So this is exactly the discussion. Our goal is to bring that forward. If you say you're slightly bent on intent,
100%.
Okay.
100%. I think like nobody knows for sure what's going to happen. And again, like people like to crap on lead scoring and MQLs and SQLs. And I'm like, it's all about probabilities. It's not 100%. Like nobody's saying this guy MQL'd and they're going to close. But just like out of the 1,000 people I have, these 5 are more likely to close based on these signals.
And one of the things you said is a lot of it's black box. I think there's a need for removing the black box and say, hey, they did this on this day. Hence, I am saying this. Like that kind of, I think that kind of transparency is going to help marketers go, okay, now I know. And you know, this might not mean intent. It might just mean a random chance. So I'm not going to do anything. But so I think there's a lot to be done there. I certainly enjoyed this chat as always.
I loved it.
And our friendship is still intact. So it's all good. And you are getting hell bent on intent. So I love this.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
If you like this video, please drop us a like. Let us know what you think of it. And if you're hell bent on intent, click on the link in description to stay updated when each new episode drops. See you there.